they are just sitting there and watching the that's kind of shit. Called by the Grave it was a very good card when I played with it. I don't feel like it was disgusting, no, but I'm also not playing at a high level. Is there a way to consistently draw this card? Or are you just hoping it hits your hand?
It's similar to different dimension grab, you're kind of just hoping. And this basically, like you said, insulates you from a hand trap.
So you're the way I'm just trying to get context. So you're just running 3 copies and you just set your
the maximum legal amount of copies, yes. If you're playing
it's not okay, so it's not is it 3 or is it 1? Like the argument for this is because you guys do have the option of just kind of lowering the amount of cards you put into the deck. This card at 1 doesn't seem that horrible having here. Okay. The idea of I'm gonna slot this in to try to just get this in my opening hand to pop off feels like it kind of satisfies that like fantasy of just like I'm gonna do the best turn of my life.
Right? Oh, it's what it satisfies the fantasy already.
Now, does it completely destroy your opponent's world? Yeah, but I mean that's what card games do, right? Like, if my opponent plays a single card in the game, I'm his. But this is obviously at a much bigger level. Implications of having this in a tournament realm, and from a viewer standpoint, is kind of shitty because it's like they drew Called by the Grave. I guess this match is over because my opponent can't respond depending on the context of their hand. That is where, this is kind of where it's weird. I don't know if that's a bannable offense. I feel like that's just kind of, okay, this happens every once in a while. Like, sometimes in Hearthstone you draw the perfect aggro hand and, the game's over, but that doesn't happen every game. Kind of just move on. Obviously, that's easier to say when I'm not playing for money and I'm not taking the time to prep for a tournament just to get Called by the Grave, the 1 copy in my deck. But again, that's variance, that's card games. I have to go in with that mindset. I don't think this is bannable. I get limiting it to 1 so you don't have that interaction as often, but I wouldn't ban this personally, so I'm gonna go with I'm not banning it.
People want this card fucking banned. But you're double right. 1, it's not banned, and 2, it's actually limited to 1.
Dude. Oh, let's go.
It's funny you said what you said, because even with this card being limited,
in
Yu-Gi-Oh! Philosophy, that makes a card even more frustrating, because that means you just drew the unsearchable 1-of card and just sacked your opponent. Because at least if it's at 3, you can sort of account for the deck building that your opponent is going to open with it 40% of the time, right? Where if it's at 1, it's like you can't really account for it because it's like, oh, they drew the 1-of card, awesome, great, that's fantastic. I just fucking lose because they drew 1-of.
So it's card games though.
It is, but in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's different because, stopping a singular hand trap just means the game is fucking over. In a world, because there was a time where this card was at 3, and, there does exist a world where this card is actually totally fine if the game progresses past
You're on dark red top.
Because then it's, not the end-all be-all. But especially because of the fact, similar to Triple Tack, how this card is sort of like an anti-hand trap card, if you will. This card is so infuriating for so many different reasons that people are just sick of it and honestly want it. Because at this point, they're like, okay, if it's limited and people are still playing it, just ban it. What's the point? So, future maybe will get banned, but people are absolutely sick of it.
I understand that. Again, like I said, it probably hurts much more on a tournament level than it does in, actually. I feel like there are way worse things to get rid of than something like this. I don't want this in your game as a response to.
It's funny, this is one of the best cards in Master Duel out of Maxine. Not wrong. But, again, like you said, going first already has such a huge advantage over going second more often than not. Why do we need more cards that benefit going first?
Here's a question. Have they ever considered being the person going second?
I mean, you already get 1 more person going second.
Right, but if they're at such a disparity, Hearthstone had to solve this problem, right? Because we can't interact with my opponent's turns. What did Hearthstone do? Hearthstone said you get an extra card and you get the coin. Point allows you to fight for 10.
The way you typically balance turn-based games, the philosophy is half a turn ahead. You can see this in pretty much every game in WeCross I've played thus far. Turn 1, I put in 2 Signies. That's not fair. They have 2 Signies, I have nothing. I play 2, I break them, I deal Life Cloth, and then I pass back to the opponent. My opponent's like, that's not fair. My Life Cloth is lower. and they have more signies than me. So now I'm gonna be a level ahead, and then I'm gonna deal some more damage, and then you pass back the turn, and then yeah, it's that constant back and forth. Yu-Gi-Oh can't really do that. This is why I'm such a big proprietor that
just so powerful that I mean I'm not saying there should be a solution.
mill me, I dare you.
Some people mess around with what if the player going second can mulligan, right? Because if you open your hand and you have no way to interact with your opponent going second, if the player going second can mulligan, then at least they have another shot to get something to interact with the opponent going first, right? So like, yeah, that's an option because a lot of the things sometimes is sometimes you just open a hand and you have no way to interact going second, so then you just right, and that's not fun. So there's that. There's a lot of different ways they could go about it. But I mean, fuck all knows if they actually would do it. So
Why would they search more cards? They have so many cards.
Like modern Yu-Gi-Oh decks, sure, but which you go in second gets two additional cards.
Yeah, you can kind of like the simulator I taught you Edison on. Like we could do it all there.
I wonder if people would be curious enough to see how a game of Yu-Gi-Oh would unfold if the going second had a better starting. Maybe, yeah. Then all of a sudden it's like you're saying drawing an extra card is so good, which it is obviously from what I can tell from playing Yu-Gi-Oh and like seeing these cards. And helping the person going second might be as easy as just giving them an addition. Right. And just seeing where the game goes.
Yeah. Possible. So I think it's really just a consequence of just the way that the game has been typed, in the more modern era. So yeah, they need to make an adjustment because they didn't change the rule player going second to or the player going first to not draw their first. 2014, I want to say, so it was like 12 years
Don't
into
they
Yu-Gi-Oh!
run
So we're
scissor
almost
hands?
about at that
Oh,
point.
scissor hands already triggered.
Another thing I think I've seen people throw around before is the player going second gets to draw 6 cards like in their opening hand instead of drawing 5, and then they get to draw their extra card in the turn. People were like, well, what if they just get to start with this?
No, it's actually a bad
then
idea
they have the extra card to be able to have as a hand trap during the opponent's first turn. So instead of
Well, I'm not playing with this hand.
just have it in their hand by default. And I thought that was another interesting too, because then they have the one extra. So that could be that might even be better because then I feel like full mulligan. Comments. Let me know what you think.
There's definitely like again, if Yu-Gi-Oh's at a point where it's like you can't ban every card because clearly there's problems. Like, that is a solution that may actually just. Well, obviously I'm speaking out of just sure could work a lot of different practicality, but like that is potentially a solution. Person did Pretty Prince Runafall, which added 10 cards to your deck, but you got 10 starting cards. Fundamentally changed how the game is played, and it's just basically changing the way the game is played from the very beginning. Like that could be the solution other than banning cards. Like if you look at Called by the Grave, it has. It's gonna sound stupid for people who hate this card with a passion. It actually has really good design.
No, it does. Yes, I agree with you. There's a lot of really cool things you can do with it. Yes.
Oh yeah, it feels bad to ban the card because it's good and all designs.
I would see, and this is I'm circling back to Genesis because I would agree with you for not Genesis format existing. In Genesis, they took every card that's basically a floodgate or an unfun card and essentially made it 100 points and like soft banned it because no one's going to just play one copy of one of these like degenerate cards. It's not worth it. Theoretically, in a different format, they did ban all of these. And so that's kind of the frustrating thing. Not to mention, Yu-Gi-Oh has this sort of philosophy, and I think this probably harkens back to the anime. Anyone should be able to like win a game regardless of skill. Like Timmy should be able to beat the best player in the world because like they can play like degenerate floodgate type effects like that. I don't know like why that like is part of the philosophy, but it seems like that's present to some extent. That dynamic should exist, and so as a result of that, like I don't like who knows. Again, they don't really communicate to us why these types of effects.
That's just a myth.
Some of the cards are really
similar to Apollosa will never be banned because it has a premium alt art in Master Duel. And guess what? They fucking banned it.
It's kind of so. let's get back to more floodgates.
Alright. Dimensional Barrier. One monster card type. The rest of this turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the player type. Also negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they're on the field. You can only activate this. Okay, so this is like dimension ground for a specific type, but it also affects the board. Okay, this has the same issue as Dimensional Grounds. Sorry, not Dimensional Ground.
Different dimension. Yeah,
you're right. Dimension. This is like a better design version of that card.
This card's a lot new. This card's from 2017.
Okay, so you can see that like, at least they kind of iterated on that effect. I do like this one more because I think kind of the same philosophy as what's the picture really? Protoss. Like if you obviously Protoss. If you can actually trap her at a good time and understanding your opponent's playing, like this is the type of effect that works understanding the game and like what you're going for. Now again, the problem is, like we just said earlier, like going first is so good with this because for your opponent's game plan. If you know what they're playing. And by this point, like you said earlier, like you probably know what your opponent's playing towards.
Or you let some game super.
Yeah, and there's only so many monster types, so even if you don't know, like you could just rip the 1 out of 6 and you might just hit it just based on what you kind of game.
Sure. It's similar to the attribute thing with Protoss, where like you're going to know there's only like 2 or 3 summoning mechanics in the game. Like it's way less.
Okay, just for clarity. So let's say my opponent used monster effect on their turn, and it's not a quick effect, and I use Dimensional Barrier. The monster effect still go through, or does it get? So this would negate the monster effect as well. Right. So you can almost
I can't use Alpha anymore.
And then on the chain block this so that the opponent's monster doesn't effect.
Yep.
But you can wait a little bit longer for them.
Yep. You can either shotgun it or wait till they do something then flip. I don't know.
Way more. Sounds like a lot more. At least more spice than this one.
Yeah, that's a great.
Well, I mean, obviously it's good.
And like when we're talking about ways to like access these cards, like again, like for the most part,
there's no value in using Urshkigal here.
But we also have cards like this here. Actually,
that's an activated. That's activated monster effect. One normal spell / trap directly from the deck. Set this. Or if your opponent controls a monster, you can add it to your hand instead. That set card cannot be activated. So the hope is what? You just get dimensional. Oh no, but you can't activate this.
Well,
you can't activate the monster. You can't activate the set card if you activate this. Walk me through how you're going to use this.
Okay. So you do your play. Your opponent uses a hand trap to stop you. Prospect. You search dimensional barrier. You search different dimension ground. You search whatever. Send it to your field. That's all you do. They start their turn. You flip it. What are they going to do?
Oh, so you would get the card on the field before you swap to your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
I'm understanding. Yep. Okay, sorry. In my mind, it was like you're getting this on your opponent's turn that you're flipping it.
No. Yeah, this is again sorcery.
But this is like a consistent way of getting this card. Therefore, like you preemptively stop your opponent from. But it's virtually the exact same way as Dimension Ground, except for like this time you're just picking a monster type instead of an attribute, which is like maybe even better depending on the context of what you're going up against. So it's like same conversation. Is it worth banning a card like this? First, it's disgusting. If Ground wasn't banned, why would they ban this one over it? What is better at here? Really quick. Is this one also stopped? So this one is worse. Go up against, not necessarily sending some trigger. Even though we know most of the decks want to, somehow got something on board without doing that. This is way worse to go up against. Now all of a sudden you have nothing to do. Or at least with Dimension Ground, you have some kind of asterisk to get this on board. Or get something on board. So this is worse. I'm trying to think whether or not they would want it. If I can guarantee this in my opening hand, is thrust not the problem here? Well, I guess that's the conversation of like called by the grave. And it's gonna trap her, but still pretty bad.
Hypothetically, get rid of all the oppressive floodgates. Trust is maybe not fine. It might still be a very powerful card, but at least then it's not searching again.
See, like that's the argument of like it's good. Like from what I understand about Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like you want to engage with your opponent. But having a card that allows you to engage with your opponent and also let you find a card to engage with your opponent isn't necessarily a problematic thing. Just like cards have gone to a point where they're so powerful that having an effect that can draw something is absurd. It's like, how do you solve that problem? You can't. Well, I guess you ban everything that is the issue. And
I guess that
Thrust
makes enough
until
sense.
they're only cards that you're satisfied enough and that you're fun to play against and with.
Or they all need to be.
No, that's awesome. I don't know. That is like, it's so like every card you showed me here is like, yeah, this card's really good. Is it worth banning? Yeah, probably. Will they? I don't know.
I think that's the point that I'm trying to like convey in this video is that it's funny
They
how
turned on
they
my
took
alpha.
the liberty to ban several of these
They're
cards
dumb.
on this like ban list. But the point I'm driving is that there's still all these other ones that are equally as bad that are still present that need to be dealt with or have yet.
If they're playing the level 4, it's in my
Yes,
best
oh, yeah.
interest not to play into their deciduous
I
return.
wonder what it would be like if they like a huge. They just got rid of.
I attack 3 times. They have
Genesis format. This is my point.
a
They
lot
have
of cards
done
in their
it.
grave,
That's like the crazy part to me.
and that's no good.
I know some people say that the new Genesis format is
I'll play into the life burst.
under like Konami America or like whatever, and the rest of the game has to go through. And sure, I guess, but like so that's like the funny thing too is that like they've technically done this, they just haven't done it for like the actual game, the advanced constructed.
We had this. I feel like we had this conversation.
They didn't activate it. Oh, because they couldn't. They didn't have any enter.
Right. Maybe their
Let's fucking go.
is that they want these cards in the game because, like I said, they want to have like some people, young people. I don't know. We don't know what the philosophy is.
Yeah, there's no way to really. Yeah, I don't know. I back to barrier regardless. I mean, I'm just gonna call it a better card than ground. I hope that you would agree with that. Obviously, I'm talking from someone who hasn't really.
They're in the main. They are not on the level 4.
They probably want to, but I'll just say banning.
Jealousy is not going to do anything.
You're good at this. You're correct. They did ban. People have wanted barrier ban for fucking ever. It's so annoying because more often than not, it's just skip. And now more than ever, there's ways to access it that it's like more searchable. Because like at least back in the day, you had to kind of just draw it. For now, it's like we have thrust. There's transaction rollback. There's so many other ways to just get the card.
Never mind.
Even more frustrating. And it's typically just used, like I said, for the purpose of I'm going first. I'm signing my dimensional barriers, and then if I do my whole combo, and then just put dimensional barrier behind it, and my opponent can't even play it. It's kind of like when you full combo, and you have max C, right? Your opponent's just going to lose no matter what they do. It's the same argument. That's like what a lot of this plays. But again, I'm showing this off to just showcase how
I really need to just activate
and not different dimension like
this earlier. It's just there never really is a good moment to activate it. Like, this ability is always coming too late.
Let's go ahead and let's continue. Speaking of barriers, this is going to be a little bit of a lightning round here. Okay.
Barrier statue is
quite frustrating.
I didn't think I could touch some monsters. That's a really interesting card. Like, it's special summon monsters except for. So, you put your deck, you were playing specifically Earth monsters. No, maybe you just fucking set this right at the end. It's like the same thing as barrier. You do just play this at the end. And then you just stop your button. Do the same thing, but now it's on a monster. And you're affecting 5 different types rather than 1? Is that better? That's an interesting part. How do you pull this in your hand every time? So if I'm just like, if I'm trying to, this is like called by the grave, and I'm just hoping that it sends that my hand is coming up playable. This is Galleon Granite. That's a rock, an earth. Okay, 2 of those 4 monsters. You can 1 2 from this card that actually won. Add 1 rock monster from your deck to your hand, or specials on 1 rock monster. Oh, you can get that pretty fast. Okay. I mean, okay, so coming down to the conversation of is barrier. So we know barrier is the highest of all of these so far. So then is the statue worse, on par, or better? It's probably better than rounds. The fact is that this is on minion. So like, your opponent needs to have a way to get for this. Not like I would almost argue that decks are not really catered to this. I don't know why. I feel like everything you show me is interacting with like an effect or like a spell, and it's not like just like this is almost looks like a vanilla thing. Okay? Which is kind of funny. If you put this down preemptively, your opponent just doesn't have a way to interact with just a monster. Like how many hand traps just affected you summoning something? Like they just play this. I wonder how bad that is. Show me Granite. So Granite is a card that allows you to draw this. I don't know how often you here for this. Thrust's not just better with barrier, it might be. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna go with that they probably didn't ban this because I think thrust into barrier is better than the statue. And I can understand why you would run the statue. Oh, this one. Barrier statue of the I like thrust with summon. Well, okay, like how do I
Ah, neg. They rightfully held back on the level 4, which they are indeed playing. So this is a GG. How are they milling one from taking actions? I mean, it doesn't matter. That fucking first turn was so fucking bad. Oh, yikes. Ain't that just beautiful? Why didn't they banish Saturn? I see. I don't know why this matchup is so bad for them. I think their biggest problem is the fact that they're playing two of the zero cost things. I don't think that's ever worth it. Yeah. I mean, I still brick. That is a big problem. A frustrating thing about Yu-Gi-Oh is that half the time your biggest opponent is yourself. Your own deck can sometimes just draw bad. So far, most of the decks I construct here doesn't need to suffer from that in order to be good. This one is a rare exception. Uh, with the lack of draw power, it's a kind of a big problem. I made this an alternative version This one technically has draw power. It even has graveyard prep, technically, if you squint hard enough. But I quite like Carnival, you know? But using Azalea does give my demons a bit more room to move. Uh, Due to Azalea, though, Urshkigal is a lot less playable in this version of the deck. I'm not I'm not that fond of this variant as opposed to the one with Carnival. But I do believe this is stronger. It's a little bit more resilient. Plus, it doesn't suffer as bad, but to be honest, it still kind of does suffer from inconsistency. Yeah, I'm never playing over Pursuit of anything other than as a 4-off. This card is too useful. Her numbers are a lot lower, but Alto is really good. She's over Pursuit, but on a body. Albeit there's a very good chance, there's still a really good chance she doesn't pull through, since she needs to be the third attack. It does mean we can get away with uh putting in like a Corinomid in order to play her, and it's any level 1 at the end of the day, but yeah, life bursts are always going to be the biggest problem of this thing. But our offense is still pretty good, all things considered, with this list. Currently, a big problem with this is Super Helestus Saber has trouble getting proper value because of how little blacks we're playing. So I am a bit convinced it might be better to just play something else. Playing more copies of Urshkigal is just gonna be detrimental. It really does feel like Urshkigal is Just a 13k body with a life burst without an effect, where the whole value of playing her is just for her life burst. Not so much her ability. That Yereth build with the blue, though, is really interesting. I saw them play Urshkigal. Still doesn't seem like they're able to consistently save so much health and get so far ahead. But hey, I like their confidence, if nothing else. And their list is a lot more focused than mine. I hate Carnival, by the way. The third season with Rill and Mel, who were their fucking names again? I don't remember. That whole thing was so fucking mid. And I mean, the original Wheat Cross was also pretty mid. It didn't help that there was no dub. I feel like I might have tolerated it a bit more. But yeah, Carnival was the worst of the conflated series, with her being the main villain. I know, she was just kinda lame. She was just a generically bad person for the sake of being bad, which I felt goes against what that original series. Of course, Diva We Cross is a lot more lighthearted. Of course, I didn't like the main villains there as well. Deus Ex Machina were a very petty bunch. They didn't do a good job of making themselves look interesting in the short runtime they were able to have. So for that reason, I don't run any of the Deus Ex Machina people whenever I can. Purely out of principle, I'd rather die. Yeah, big problem with playing two defensive things is less likely to get to limit 7, an important limit. Yeah, old Sash's ability of bouncing a thing for 3 cost is too much. It is admittedly powerful, and 3 cost is probably where it should be, but uh, that ability loses out so badly to everybody else who can get so much more value out of their level 3 Lyrig abilities. Might the list be better with a different white Larig? I highly doubt it. I've looked through the list. Akino's a little interesting. Because she does technically do the same thing. At the beginning of your main phase, put a white Signy on your field into the trash and pay 1 so you can return a Signy from the opponent's field to their hand. It even has a drawn Enter charge bonus. So you're technically only paying 1 white. And then once per game, you can give all of your Signy Shadow, which is very powerful. Could be worth trying. The biggest thing we lose out when we switch out from Akino is losing the crafts. Full Moon and Saturn are incredibly valuable. Yeah, a big downside here is that you gotta guarantee your Signy gets to stick. So, or Holy Angel Princess is a lot less viable. And overall, it would, if I want to make Akino work, I'll have to start from the ground up. Because this list was made with Sasha's strengths and weaknesses in mind. Gabriella doesn't give me what I want either. I guess I haven't looked at my list of green Lyrigs yet. Most of the greens I've seen are very aggressive. And again, Erskine works best when you're not being aggressive. Not to mention, they play around with the Enter quite a lot. And you really don't want to be caught with your pants down and your opponent having a lot of uh Enter. Because if you if you wipe their board with Ershkigal and then they fucking defend that turn and your Ershkigal didn't get to do jack shit, then congratulations, you fucking threw away two 2 points of life for nothing. And now they're gonna fucking murder you most likely. Hey yo, what the hell? You're just objectively better. So far. Also, that previous fight with the Blue Archive bitch. I think I think people. I'm not sure how often people do this. Obviously, I don't have many, and but like there's two games where I intentionally held back so that my opponent couldn't grow to their next level. I feel like that has taken. I've won every game where I did that. Granted, it's only a total of two games so far, but like nobody's ever done that to me, at least as far as I can remember. Uh, Not intentionally. Uh, like you don't ever really intentionally hold back. I think people are against that, but like sometimes I am unable to get to the next level because I was just naturally fucked over by my own inner, or my opponent had a way of fucking me over while still getting their offense. Like, those make a lot of sense, but what I do where I just choose to not attack, I think that catches people off guard quite a lot. Anyway, Tamayori Hime. At the mere cost of a discard of a white Signy and a single white Enter. Aren't you the solution? Aren't you the answer? Again, a lot of the defensive properties are gone, but I mean, I guess another reason why Urshgull is so tantalizing to use is because of the costs, as well as all the defensive things Sash has access to. Since bouncing costs so much, why not? And it's only for a single guy. Why not wipe away the entire board? Is yeah, this ability doesn't need Urshkigal. You're better off just playing a little bit more aggressively. Same with here. I was considering Yuka Yuka because her ability to constantly fuck the opponent is pretty nice, but she naturally already wipes the board, which means, once again, Urshkigal's not all that good. Ugh, why? I did consider Mugen at some point as well until I realized there isn't really a viable chance. I mean, you could try going for really big damage at like turn 8. Like you could play one of the graveyard recursion defensive things and try to Urshkigal before you grow to your win con. You're more than capable of doing so since you're fucking Mugen. But again, she's another Lurig that simply does not have a reason, a need to play something like Urshkigal. Silly, unfortunately, is the one I think is the most viable. she's still really defensive, especially if you play the more hyper defensive, super toxic versions. Like you can get away with playing very few brave Signies. You only really need enough to ensure you have at least one on your board every attack phase. But yeah, Erskigal is just a bad Signy. Like obviously, uh, looking through things, at some point, it will cross anyone's mind, even someone as dumb as me, to realize that the reason she doesn't work for anyone is because she's just fucking bad.